very little, dollars, like, $10 to, that's supposed to fund, or be the budget for food on campus for the students.
Anteriormente estas escuelas nacieron en la época de la revolución, justamente para los hijos de campesinos. Actualmente existen 16 escuelas, anteriormente eran como 35, 36, pero el gobierno ha ido desapareciéndolas precisamente por abrir conciencias. Los jóvenes se dedican a estudiar y abren conciencias a la población, por eso el gobierno quiere desaparecer.
These schools, the schools in Normales are a result of the revolutionary or the time of resistance in Mexico. There was about 35, there's only 60 now. They shut most of them down. The students, because they are very committed to social justice and spreading awareness and encouraging the community to stand up for their rights, the Mexican government has, throughout history, really targeted them, and there's been various cases of violence and them trying to shut down the schools, and in the case of the Tizapa, an actual mass disappearance.
El gobierno estatal y el gobierno federal siempre han atacado a los estudiantes de todas las normales rurales. Por lo mismo, por el despertar. En esta ocasión, cuando fueron a Iguala, en el lugar donde desaparecieron, fueron a hacer una colecta monetaria para trasladarse el primero día de octubre, que fue cuando masacró el mismo gobierno en 1968, hacer una marcha en la Ciudad de México.
When the night of the disappearance, the students were kind of more like they barter a lot and using resources, in this case the buses, to go to DF to an annual march commemorating the massacre of 1968. An interesting connection, it was against the students, like I think Digna mentioned it earlier. And that was very important that you did that, because I think Mr. Tizapa, and we're always trying to make that connection of this history of impunity. Mr. Tizapa, like you pointed out, at every level of the state, from local police to the military, they've always harassed and targeted and attacked the students. But that's what they were doing that night. They were fundraising, and they were trying to get out to DF so they could join the march.
Esto es relacionado a lo que se refiere a la escuela normal. Ya como padres, nosotros, desde un principio, el gobierno ha querido entregar a nuestros hijos muertos. Recordemos las primeras semanas cuando nos dijeron que los habían encontrado en una fosa clandestina, cosa que como padres nosotros nunca hemos aceptado las presiones del gobierno, porque nosotros como padres no buscamos a nuestros hijos muertos, nosotros los buscamos vivos, al igual que aquí veo padres y veo abuelos. Yo creo que ninguno de ustedes aceptaría cosas que le diga el gobierno siempre y cuando no tengan algún cuerpo o algo científico, lo cual el gobierno demuestre lo que está diciendo. Por eso nosotros estamos buscando los vivos.
As parents of Ayotzinapa, from the very beginning, they told Mr. Tizapa and the parents that the children were dead, and he's emphasizing that he feels that he sees maybe parents in the audience or grandparents, and he asked, what would you do if the government told you that? But there was no evidence, no body, no scientific proof that this was indeed true. They try to, in the first week, they try to say that the students were in a mass grave, but there was never any evidence of that, and therefore they continue to search for their children.
Sí, yo radico aquí en Nueva York, precisamente sin darnos cuenta, la mayoría de los inmigrantes que venimos, ya sea de México o de Europa en su momento, como, no sé, los abuelos de ustedes o los bisabuelos de ustedes, tuvieron que emigrar a este país, quizás por las condiciones no tan agradables del país de sus ancestros. Por eso yo estoy acá, y por eso también ustedes están aquí, porque para buscar una mejor vida para la familia.
I live in New York City. I immigrated. Maybe some of you are immigrants, or your parents or grandparents immigrated, and we all come here
colectivos o activistas, yo como padre, alzamos la voz porque sabemos que aquí tenemos pues, libertad de expresión, cosa que en México no tenemos, porque si usted levanta la voz, lo desaparecen, lo amenazan o lo matan.
That's why it's important as parent and for activists in the community that we continue to be the voice and to join here in the U.S. in solidarity, because we do have more freedom of speech and freedom to express ourselves, something that just doesn't exist in Mexico. In Mexico, they can disappear you.
Sí, ya sabemos a estas alturas que el gobierno es el culpable de todo esto, el Estado. Y también sabemos que hubo armas alemanas que fueron compradas clandestinamente para el país alemán. Y claro, también las armas estadounidenses. Esas armas están matando, nos están matando a nosotros los indígenas. Pero ustedes como americanos tienen un gran poder de hacer unas cartas individual o grupalmente para mandárselas al gobierno americano que pare el plan Mérida, que pare esa ayuda económica, porque con eso supuestamente se van a compartir a la delincuencia organizada, pero no. Y eso es para estarnos defendiendo a nuestras comunidades indígenas. Ustedes tienen ese poder de hacerlo, por favor, se los pedimos.
The weapons that are being used in Mexico, some of them are German weapons, but the majority are given or provided through the U.S. Plan Merida, military support in the guns. Tizapa emphasizes these guns are killing our people, they're killing the indigenous people of Mexico, and they're killing our brothers or sisters. I think all of us have had family members who've been executed or killed. And as Americans or as U.S. citizens, you can, besides signing the petition, you can always write a letter to legislation or figure out other ways to help demand an end to all military support and the weapons that are being sent from the U.S. to Mexico. And this is not only coming from U.S. Tax money, it's also then the Mexican government has to pay the U.S. for the support through taking money from Mexican citizens' taxes. So the people are paying for the weapons that are also killing the people back in Mexico.
Sí, los pequeños taxes que pagan ustedes, una mínima parte, yo que va a dar a esas casas fabricantes de armas, inconscientemente, o sea, ustedes con sus taxes nos están matando. Por eso les pido que hagan eso.
Yes, that you take action and ending Plan Merida. People maybe don't even know that this is what their tax money is being used for. And it's difficult, but just by talking about it and sharing, Mr. Tizapa has made short promos and videos. They all have English subtitles. It's a 8-minute video that we did. It's a history of impunity and military.
You'll find that in your program.
Talking about it and sharing. It's getting harder. The helicopters that are seen that were used in Oaxaca 2 weeks ago to attack the teachers were given to Mexico by President Bush during his administration. And Obama reduced Plan Merida by a small percentage, but at the UN level, Samantha Power, who's another key person to really contact over at the UN, our ambassador, has made a career out of writing about genocide in Africa, but hasn't really addressed what's going on in Mexico with the honesty that Digna would want about calling out what's happening for what's actually happening. A lot of your UN reports continue to allude that this is all a result of the drug war, and that in fact, we should expand support as in more money for Plan Merida.
If I may just add, Hillary Clinton has said that she would like, the Plan Merida was based on Plan Colombia, which was also a huge amount of funding to supposedly fight the drug war, and it ended up in the hands of paramilitaries who did a lot of repressing. That's why today Hillary Clinton has said that she would like a Plan Colombia
Tizapa and the parents, when we got it, she said there was 42 instead of 43 missing. When the New York Times article came out, I guess she really wanted to capitalize off exploiting kind of the narrative and the attention around Ayotzinapa. Mr. Tizapa also made a video, and we responded to her and calling out what's going on, because she was a huge key player and component on Plan Merida. She's also continues to say that she trusts that President Enrique Peña Nieto and his government will conserve justice and find the 43, which makes some sense because they are the ones who disappeared the students, so it's never gonna happen.
In your experience, I'm wondering, I know, like in Colombia, it's more of a linear story, or in Guatemala or Chile, in terms of U.S. involvement in these places. I mean, some place like Africa is much more multifaceted. What is the motive and beneficiaries of the policies in the United States as it's going into Mexico? So who is benefiting the most from retaining these policies?
I mean, it's money, right? So the number one consumer of drugs from Mexico is the U.S. The prioritization of education is a model that has been learned in the U.S. The director and the president of education of the Mexican government actually did this training in the U.S. He was at Harvard and several Ivy Leagues and private schools, and there's just a lot of Hillary Clinton's partner opened the Walmarts that are in Mexico. So for us as Mexicans, it's just very transparent. There's just a lot of business and money involved, and even in the weapons, the way that works, right? So the Mexican government owes the U.S. government money now because they supply the guns and the helicopters, and so it's a way of like paying it forward, but then you charge citizens for it. So to really answer that question is that going beyond the drug war and these policies, I think, would lead to talking about legalizing marijuana. It would lead to talking about how to reframe the industry, because it is an industry in Mexico, and there are children that are picking marijuana, and this is very real, and we know, but it's so beyond the cartels. Like a lot of the people, most people are tired of the violence, but even at the local level, even at the cartel level, they don't have the power. It's the politicians who are, and the institutions that are at stake of, I think, losing power and money, and so that's why we're dealing with so much repression.
And if I can just add that here in the U.S., it's a huge industry to export, to of course export weapons to Mexico. Mexico is one of the primary importers of U.S. weapons. And if you, I have, my website is in the program too, with some quotations from a Mexican expert called Laura Carlson, and she talks about how Plan Merida is actually an arming of NAFTA. So to be able to support the inequities of NAFTA, which allow multinational companies to come in and without consulting to take the resources, this provides the military structural framework.
Any form of resistance against NAFTA or neoliberal policies is, and it's kind of what the normales represent, all of that is shut down with these weapons, with the army. That's their job, and the CIA is very, very present in Guerrero. I think there was 2 CIA intelligence officers a night of the disappearance of the students, U.S. intelligence officers. They're monitoring, and they actually see a lot of the resistance going on in Chiapas, whatever's happening with the student movement and teachers movement, as this threat representing socialism and guerrillas. And so there's a lot of presence of not just Mexican military, but U.S. intelligence. They're monitoring all these quote-unquote guerrillas, and students have often been detected as being like that basically deserve this because they're, they've been called gangsters and violent and all these things, even though they're completely unarmed, and that's not true.
Just a couple of questions. One has to do with the assassins of Digna, who I think I recall pursued to the extent that it has been verified that they're the links, and that those who deny that this was assassination have been proved wrong.
So, the witness who gave the names of the killers was, after Digna's family in 2005 had the case reopened. The Mexican government had dismissed it and closed it. But they had it reopened with the help of the Inter-American Commission, pushing, saying there's new evidence to introduce, and they had this witness who was willing to go on record. And after he went on record, he was dragged away and brutally tortured, but he survived. And then their case, when it became come into the limelight again a few years later, so, yeah, he was killed. But, they have that testimony, they actually did they did an exhumation of her body, they did another autopsy because the first one had been done very poorly. And they are taking their case to the Inter-American Court, hopefully. It's been in front of the Inter-American Commission for a while. And they're hoping it'll be sent up to the court, which can't really do, the court has no teeth, but it can send it back to the Mexican government. And it's embarrassing. And they'll send it back and they'll say you have to do these various things, you have to send it back through your judicial system. And it's embarrassing to the Mexican government.
They really care a lot about their image, so. They can't, the rapporteur of the UN as well, can't go into Mexico to conduct an official investigation. The protocol requires that the Mexican government invites her in officially. Of course, they haven't done that. It's been over 2 years and we're still waiting, and we can't force the Mexican government to. So you hit a lot of walls and there's a lot of red tape to cut through. The way that Digna was murdered is very common, and that's why I think it's very real for all of us. In Veracruz, Durante, a journalist who was killed recently, activists, our colleagues, they're around our age, and they're doing the same kind of work we're doing. They were in DF, they were not in Querétaro, they were not in the middle of nowhere, they were in Mexico City, and broad daylight, silent gun, they were all executed. And that was a year ago, this time last summer. So activists, journalists, a lot of the folks who helped look for the students, the main organizer who was taking everyone into the woods looking for the students, a cab driver who was also killed for organizing. And people continue to resist, and the parents, Tizapa's wife, they're all in death right now, and every single day they're in a different city marching, and they haven't stopped, but they continue to receive threats as well.
There are a number of action points that you will get as you walk out the door from their organization. There's also something for Witness for Peace in your programs. And you can also check the websites that are in your programs. There's a huge need for solidarity.
Hopefully we'll see you on Thursday. Mr. Tizapa's way of also, it's a really beautiful form of protest. It's through sport, it's not art. It's correct. Pero, it kind of reminds us of the moms of Argentina who walk the plaza for their disappeared children. Mr. Tizapa does running for Ayotzinapa in New York. So if you are interested in doing a 5K walk or a run, just put on the Ayotzinapa shirt to show solidarity. And he's left stickers for you and some business cards with his information. So we're always inviting folks to come out.
Sí, aquí en Nueva York, yo como padre he hecho todo lo que puedo. He estado en huelgas de hambre, en protestas, por el maratón de la ciudad el año pasado. He estado en carreras grandes, he ido a New Jersey también a difundir de una manera muy pacífica, no violenta. Entonces eso es lo que causa la admiración de muchas personas. En el cual se está protestando sin decir absolutamente nada, simplemente llevar una palabra y yo los invito a que con el simple hecho de caminar y pongan una playera pintada con un marcador que diga